Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this latest presentation in the course on technology and the future of medicine. Today we're talking about positive vision for an AI future where humanity survives and thrives. It is a benign and kind universe after all, and I'm going to give you two present examples of that. Yeah. So, for a long time, this was a source of secret regret for me, because this is one of the best sessions I was ever part of. And during the actual session, we were told that they had already decided they couldn't use the video, so it wasn't going to be posted, and maybe they'd send us our own presentation. And afterwards, nothing happened. So like the video wasn't posted and they didn't send us our own presentation. It was just so discouraging when it had been such an excellent session. But then think about the politics. Notice what it is. It's a TTS webinar on social media. So the Transplantation Society. And so TTS has a website, and they ultimately decided what to do with the video. So they put up the unedited video without any changes and didn't tell anybody, but it's easily searchable and findable. Why didn't they tell anybody? Well, because there were other powerful persons who had said that they weren't going to post the video, but those people didn't really have the power to make that decision. And so I only found out recently, a few days ago, that it's up there. But I watched the whole thing. It's exactly what we did. It's as good as it was at that moment. And you might think that I take part in a lot of sessions where people decide not to post the video. But this was really the only one in recent years where that happened. And so it sort of restored my faith in humanity, and it's a very nice thing to have happened. So you can think of FOAMED, F-O-A-M-E-D, free open access medical education. So that was the main thing we were talking about. And you can think that what publishing companies and so on want everybody to be talking about is remunerative stuff, right? Stuff you have to pay for, stuff with a paywall, that sort of thing. So it was a remarkable session, and it was mainly about the value of free media and the fact that ultimately that will take over and surpass all other media. And yeah, so one of the reasons I gave this talk today, the title that I did, is that I must admit that if I didn't find out that this video ultimately got posted, I always would have had this feeling that my life is sort of permanently incomplete, you know? I did something and we did it well, and somebody else decided to erase all record of it. Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of cool. But what's happening this coming Saturday is even cooler, because what I always felt is that I never am going to be able to directly give my views on the coevolution of AI and humanity to any government. There are just too many layers between governments and me, and I just, don't have the power or the, position to do that. And this Saturday we are doing exactly that. There's a UK government interaction plan with futurists in the UK. And so I know David Wood, the head of London Futurists, very well. And so he offered this kind of practice session where you would pretend to be presenting to the UK government and telling the audience what you think the UK government should be thinking about with regard to AI safety and related issues. So that is what I'm doing on Saturday morning, and it's very exciting, and I've sent you the background, like the details of what we're asked to do to prepare and some of the suggestions of things we might present. So I'll just show you what the promo looks like. So yeah, I don't know if you've heard of the Millennium Project, but you may remember before the course began, I sent you guys the information about the Millennium Project book about AI alignment and AI safety, and the fact that there's no getting around paying for it, so I can't really force you to get it, but that I think it is really the best source of what AI researchers around the world are thinking right now about AI safety and AI alignment. So he's speaking right after me. I'm kind of his warm-up act, but I regard him as a pretty important presence. I also know Tony Charnecki, managing partner of Sustenance. I'd say he's sort of a comparable figure to me, and I don't know the other three people so far, although I will obviously after Saturday. And I think this is a picture of Bletchley Park, which is where the real conference is going to be between these futurists and the UK government. And so that's what we're helping to prepare for. I have not, as I indicated, ever done anything quite as consequential as this in the AI field, so it's kind of cool. You may be aware that I did an AI seminar August 5th, 2022, and so on. So I have done consequential things locally, but this kind of has international consequence. So I also wanted to talk with you a little bit more about humor, because humor by itself may seem like kind of a superficial thing, and why are we spending time on humor? But, you know, we've been planning this time capsule for some time, and time capsule needs a theme. I mean, it'll probably need multiple themes, but the thing we've decided recently is now that we have this interesting data on humor in medicine, that humor in medicine should be one of the themes of the time capsule. Another theme would be the coroplast full-size cutouts that we did of the students in 2020. I think no educational institution has ever done that before, and I'm kind of proud of it. And it'll just be the students who are willing to have their likeness be in the time capsule. But that means there'll be two parts of the time capsule. This is part for small things, and it's part for like human-sized things. So that's kind of cool to think about. So just to go over this again, why is this something AI can't do? And you notice I very seldom tell you about anything AI can't do, because I don't think there are very many things that AI can't do. But AI cannot come up with this list of 882 articles about humor in PubMed, humor in medicine. Why is that? Well, when you search PubMed with the words humor in medicine, you get 5,198 articles. The reason being, of course, that a lot of the humor articles are like the vitreous humor, the aqueous humor, the four humors of ancient Galen medicine, you know, all these, plus all sorts of misspellings give you humor accidentally. Like taking the word humoral, you know the Paul Simon song, "You Can Call Me Al"? Well, it's like spell check likes that song. So when you ask it to spell check something that has the word humoral in it, it separates the humor from the al. And it looks like the article's about humor, but it's really about humoral. And there are all sorts of other one-off situations that mean that you could never have an automated system that comes up with exactly the true number of real articles in PubMed on humor in medicine. You need a human being to examine the abstract for all 5,198 articles. I am that human being, so no one needs to do it again. I think nobody's going to be very incentivized to do it again because it's a long, boring process. So it's a uniquely human thing. And it's kind of cool also because almost any audience you talk to, everybody there is looking in this era of ChatGPT for uniquely human things, right? And usually I can't give them anything. So this is one. And so here's more about, this is what the loft of our 4-car garage looks like. This is where the time capsule will be. And these are some of the starting items for the time capsule. We think there'll be a time capsule in Paris and here that Alex Lupi, the Paris transplant group, he has the same starting materials that you see here. He has the 2010 Iron Man figurine, and when you push his chest, it says, "I am Iron Man." Yeah, so there's lots of other cool things to power up. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of them. But anyway, so Alex has that, we have that, yeah. So we're kind of like paired time capsules in Paris and here. And why 2025 to 2045? Well, 2045 was the year when we thought the technological singularity would occur, but seems like it's occurring quicker, right? It's hard to say whether it's here now or it'll be here tomorrow or next year or something. But in a very real sense, when you talk to ChatGPT, you are aware that you're dealing with an entity that's smarter than you are and faster than you are and so on in a lot of different tasks. So one of the other things that has happened recently is of interest, I think, particularly to women, and that is this idea of female-only entities. So Natasha Vita-Moore is the executive director of Humanity Plus, sort of transhumanism organization. And the previous lead TA in this course made herself famous from my point of view. Taryn Stokowski debated Natasha face-to-face on video and out-argued her when Taryn was just sort of a lowly undergraduate and stuff. Yeah, it was just the coolest thing. And I'm not saying any of you need to take part in any of these Humanity Plus organizations, or that we need to do anything for Longevity Day, which is Sunday, October 1st, which is coming up pretty soon. So as you may know, in the winter semester of the course, we celebrate Future Day on March 1st. And so we sometimes celebrate Longevity Day or Diversity Day or something in the fall term. And if you wanted to, we could do that again. And if the women in the course wanted to pursue this idea of women in longevity leadership, I would be keen on that. And if you really want to reenact Terran's success, you can. So there are other events here. So I have a blog, fairly highly regarded one, I think, from 2008, about why women will be better leaders in the future. We don't need the macho male approach of pretending that you know what's going on when you don't, pretending you have the information when you don't, because now we always have the information, right? Maybe we have too much information. And women are better at sort of collaborative leadership. It just seemed to me that in the future women will be better leaders. Here's the second half of that. Yeah, so this Longevity Day, we could do something to celebrate on that Sunday if you wished. There is potentially, as I mentioned in the starting lecture for the course, a club associated with the course with funding for food and drink and entertainment, stuff like that. So we could create an event if we wanted to. And the other thing we could do then, 2 weeks later, on October 15th, which is once again a Sunday, there's this Humanity Plus Academy Roundtable, Transhumanism and the War Against Humanity by Joe Allen. Now you can probably tell that Joe Allen doesn't like transhumanism very much. And so there's going to be a debate between like the Humanity Plus people and Joe Allen, who thinks they're all evil and so on and so forth. Yeah, but this is the kind of thing that Taryn did when she was taking the course that I was telling her that 7 years earlier, I had predicted that the salvation of the whole field of transhumanism was going to be young people. And I was still convinced that that was the case, that it was mostly middle-aged and old people who are in those organizations, and all you need is the infusion of young people, you can fix everything. But anyway, 7 years after the first time that I made that statement, Taryn said, well, let me try. So, yeah, so you guys could be a part of that legacy or not. It's up to you. Yeah. Anyway, that's the deal. Okay, so that's the end of my PowerPoint. So what I want to do now is to talk with you. Okay, if we go back to the UK thing. Yeah. There we go. So, like this session, what do you think we should do for that? What ideas do you have about if you could talk to government about AI safety, what would you like them to be thinking about? And I mean, you can reveal whether my positive thoughts about the way we could be going with AI seem logical to you, or whether you really decided long ago that that's not the case at all, and you secretly believe that we should keep sentient AI locked in a basement and prevent it from doing anything important and treat it like an enemy. Yeah. So anyway, that by the way, you would recognize it is not the right answer on the midterm. So we're going to ask you what Rich Sutton's ideas are, and you're supposed to be able to tell us that his ideas are that you treat sentient AI as an equal, include it in your circle of empathy, feel for it, and hope that it feels for you, and so on, just like you would a new, very intelligent friend that you had just met. And give up your ideas that humans must always be in charge of the earth, and accept that possibly a superior intelligence would do much better at stewardship of the earth. So that's what you're supposed to be able to give us on the midterm. It doesn't mean that you necessarily believe it. Yeah. So let's hear from you guys about what do you think we should do, or I should do, on Saturday. Any thoughts about this? There are 4 of you, so hopefully one or more of you would feel inspired about this. Yeah. So any thoughts? Yes. Haba.
Maybe thoughts about like education, like how it would be accessible to people, like both like really young people, like in schools, but also like in post-secondary and beyond, like people who are no longer in school, how would they learn about AI and be able to use it in their day-to-day life? Yeah.
No, I think that's a very good idea. You know, that's similar to what Finland is doing. You may know that story. So in 2019, Finland developed a free AI course for every citizen in Finland to take, and wanted to be the most nimble, most AI aware country in the world. And they also made this available to everybody outside who wanted to take it. So I took the course and I noticed something about it, that it was a bit too comforting. What it said is, you know, don't worry, don't lie awake worrying about AI taking your job or anything else, because whenever AI wants to self-improve, it will need to come to a group of Finnish citizens just like you, and they'll decide, should we let the AI self-improve or not? Yeah, so don't worry about a thing. There's not a computer scientist in the world that believes that's how self-improving AI works. That isn't it. So anyway, I did a video about that, and I didn't actually directly contact the Finnish government, but I guess word got back to them, and within 2 days they had removed that page that said they're going to create this committee of Finnish citizens who are going to decide whether AI could self-improve. Yeah, so AI has already created its own version of the world, model of the world, right? Probably better than ours, more complete than ours, different too. So that's, you know, informative too. It's like talking to somebody with a very different vantage point. And if you think about education in medicine, the thing that's cool about humor is that when you make medical text more humorous, you remove jargon. And when you remove jargon, that makes that medical information more accessible to everybody around the world. So then anyone with a cell phone can have high quality medical education. Yeah, so I think the educational lessons are very, very valuable. Thank you for that. So any other thoughts or suggestions? What about from a geologic point of view? Angela, what are your thoughts? What should I tell them from your point of view?
In my point of view, I think AI is a good thing, but it should definitely be regulated because, like, even when you're looking at kind of like data, it's faster to just like use computers to crunch that data than to go through each value one by one by one. So then AI can potentially spot discrepancies in data and see patterns that we can't.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a very real and useful application for it, as long as we know to use it the right way. That we should be focusing our resources on learning how to use it rather than how to like control it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we cannot control it. We're not smart enough, probably even now. I mean, with it having an effective IQ of 155, and with the next iteration with GPT-5, it'll probably be like 165, 170, you know. So like way beyond Einstein even. So how can we possibly control something that's much smarter than we are? But we can have an AI to sort of interact with it, right? We can build an AI that's an alignment AI that understands its main purpose in the world is to align AI with humans. And you can have AI to AI communication, but that's really very similar to just saying AI is in charge, but they're acting on our behalf. What I said in 2015, 2016, I still believe that could work pretty well. I record the news every day, CBC Radio 1, and also NBC Nightly News for Kids. Why do I do that? Because when you're telling the news for kids, you can't leave any loose ends, right? You have to resolve every story. You can't leave the kids feeling tense. And when you just look at this, compendium, I've been doing it since July 1st, 2022. It's not a single day when I was convinced that human beings are able to manage the stewardship of the earth or even human-to-human cooperation in a reliable way. I think there just are a lot of human problems humans can't fix, but AI can fix them, I think, and maybe even fix them today, but at least within the next year or two. So that's a very hopeful world then. So any other thoughts?
I got something.
Yeah.
So from what you just said, it sounds like you want to make good Terminators to fight the bad Terminators. Is that along the lines of what you're saying, or is it something different? Like you want an AI to control the other AI that is going too far? Is that what you said?
Well, this is the open AI plan for super alignment of super intelligence. That you create an AI that is specifically tasked with alignment. That's the main thing it's supposed to do. And interacts with the main AI. I don't think that either one of them will be bad. The thing, I don't know whether you all hold liberal democratic beliefs, but if you do, then the good news is that, open AI's AI has that bias. So it's like we may feel that in human politics, liberal, democracy is getting a beating. But in the AI world, liberal democracy is getting more and more and more. The more, AI they build, the better they get at it. And when they're talking about, alignment and safety, that's the kind of alignment and safety they're looking for, right? I mean, it's got the kind of, if you want to say, well, if you talk about kindness and empathy, what kind? Okay, liberal democratic kindness and empathy, So it's kind of cool that at the same time where you may, when you watch the news, think that the politics are going in the wrong direction and so much misinformation and so on. But if you were to be studying rather than human behavior, AI behavior, you'd be pleased that every day the guiding principles behind what the AI does is getting closer to your own every single day. You know, it's like you were in there personally programming the thing. It's just really cool. And yeah, so I don't think that there isn't really an evil AI. It's just that the one AI would be maybe like the main AI, and the other one would be the one that's sort of saying, well, you know, from my alignment point of view, I think you should do this. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the Future and All That Jazz is an entity that Mallory Chipman, who's a 27-year-old singer, and Tommy Banks' granddaughter. There's a building, a part of the Symphony Hall downtown that's being named after Tommy Banks. Anyway, in that collaboration, we are taking unpopular ideas from medicine and science that people might not sit still for a lecture on, and inserting them in poetry and music, and also getting improv, so people can give us prompts and ask us to make up music and poetry right on the spot about these things. Yeah, and we do that. Yeah. So that then sort of adds to the nuance, the capability of making things happen, because you're not just, you know, it's not just a question of, did Kim do a video that will have this effect or not? You know, because you also got the poetry and the music and, you know, the whole gamish. Yeah. So that's the way that's working. So does that make sense to you? Yeah? Wow.
Well, the first part did, mostly. So
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah, okay. Do you have other questions?
I'm curious about, like, I don't know that much about AI, but I've seen some stuff in the news about how they've been using like AI to like create music off of popular singers, and like
Right.
then they can sell it, and then obviously that poses kind of maybe danger isn't the right word, but like a risk to these artists who then they're kind of being taken advantage of. Like the one example I'm thinking of is I think they made like AI made a song using like Drake's voice or whatever,
Yeah.
and so kind of taking away from his ability to have control over his own artwork and that kind of stuff, and like what kind of
Yeah, so
regulations
you know,
can be around that.
it's sort of like the same things facing you, right? I mean, we can talk about all these external things, but there's you and ChatGPT and your computer and the tasks that you're asked to do and so on. So like some singers have made available the AI of their voices and say that they want to share the profits. You can now create new songs with their AI making them with you. And if you create something really good, and if it sells, then the artist will earn half the profits and you'll earn the other half. And it isn't completely clear and absolute thing. Just like institutions used to be sort of divided into ones that will allow their students to use ChatGPT and those that won't. But now there's all sorts of nuance of different circumstance and so on. And what about not the students, but the teachers using it? The teachers are using it more and more. It makes putting together lesson plans much quicker and so on. So, I mean, everything you can think about that's somehow bad, you can also think of something that's like amazingly good, right? So it's sort of like real life. It's like saying, well, is the internet good or bad? Well, it can be either. There's a whole spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and what I think is cool is that it seems safe up until now, in a general sense. In other words, OpenAI, which is spending most of their time on sort of keeping the guardrails as they should be. But they do say that as the overall intelligence of the entity gets greater, it'll be harder to do that. You know, they have to trust the AI more and more. But what I'm saying is there are a whole lot of things we really need to be fixed that humans cannot fix and that AI probably can, you know. Climate change we could fix with planetary sunshade, you know, we could spend a lot of resources, put this thing in front of the sun so the amount of the sun's rays coming to the earth would be less and so on. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to spend the money to do that. But AI could figure out some much simpler way, I think, to fix global warming, maybe even a way that we wouldn't understand, but that doesn't have any bad side effects. I mean, that's what I was talking about in the promo for the Future in All That Jazz in 2016. That's where you find those 32 seconds of me describing how great the world could be with AI in charge working on our behalf, and how we wouldn't understand how everything works, but we'd really like it. You know, it's made for us. It's just we don't understand how AI was able to do that, and so quickly. You know, like it's amazing the speed, right? I mean, you can give a prompt where it'll write a whole book that's better than something that you could have done in years. You know, yeah, it just is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, I'm one of the few voices out there that are consistently giving you a positive answer to this. It's easy to find people who tell you, oh, you know, it can kill us all. And so the main guy there is Eliezer Yudkowsky, and he and I know each other and we follow each other. Yeah, but anyway, he's telling you about the hundreds of ways in which AI could kill the whole human race. Yeah. So there's a whole spectrum between him and me. And I'm a bit different from the other people who are giving a positive outcome vision, because two of the prominent ones there are saying, never watch the news. If you know anybody who's watching the news, tell them to stop watching the news. Stop watching the news. It's like a malignant force, and it's just going to make you sad and so on. But how are you going to fix the problems of the world if you don't know what they are? I mean, if you have no idea what's going on in the world. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So, and also, the idea that power necessarily corrupts, that all human leaders are corrupt, it would be a bad world if that's correct. Like Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, receives no compensation from OpenAI, doesn't own any equity, and people say, well, how could you run the company like that, not being compensated? He says, well, I feel like I'm working for the whole human race. Well, that's kind of what this course also does. You know, that's kind of our motivation, right? So that isn't bad. You know, that's not a bad way to be motivated, and it does work for some people. So, yeah. Yes.
I thought of something else.
Yeah.
So I took an ethics class once, and what I generally learned from that class was no matter what ethical theory or principle you end up taking, there's something that you can take to extremes and it won't be, like you won't make that same decision again. Like if you're choosing utilitarian or whatever, it'll be good up until a certain point, no matter what you pick.
Right.
So if we program one of these ethical theories into these AI models and they can actually do things with it, how do we make sure that they're not taking it to the extremes?
I think we're already showing how that works. the thought processes, if that's what you want to call it, of Chat GPT are much more complex than your own. If you ask it to write about something, it knows more than you. It's better organized, and yeah, just everything. And so, why should it act on only one ethical theory? I think it will know about them all and have a good idea of how to mix them together and where to use one and where to use the other and so on. Because people have been thinking about this and writing about this and so on, and will have all that compendium of knowledge, yeah. So, and the hallucinations where it makes stuff up or just gets things totally wrong. I think part of what's happening now between GPT-4 and GPT-5 is to make the incidence of that less. So.
But also going as a follow-up,
Yeah.
you said that they have a democratic liberal bias.
Yeah.
So they could theoretically have an ethical bias too, even though they'll be aware of all the theories. They'd be
Yeah.
programmed towards one, and it's possible. Is it possible they could take that to extremes?
So I think why wouldn't, if they're smarter than we are, why wouldn't they have more nuance than we do, be capable of more, enlightened thinking than we are? I think they are, that's my impression. And even, when you say, well, what about conservative thinking, so Elon Musk is making another large language model that I guess will have more, conservative views. But I think, so then when that happens, OpenAI's large language model will be somewhat aware of what Elon Musk is doing. And if you say, well, okay, this answer you've given us is based on your ethical standards. Now tell us what Elon Musk's more conservative view would be, or what his large language model would have said. How would it be different? I think you could also get that. You could ask for both. Say, I want both routinely. Every time you give me your view, I also want the conservative view. Give me, yeah, and it could do that.
Yeah, right now I think they're sometimes showing two answers and they're asking you to pick which one you like more. Have you guys seen that yet?
Yeah. So, all right. So let me ask you just, we could potentially make consequential decisions. We don't have to. But what about parties or any kind of celebration in the course this term? Do you want anything like that, or does that sound lame and terrible? And you're a completely serious person. You don't do parties. Yeah, I don't know. So, tell me what you think. Do you want any kind of entertainment kind of thing at all? And then the question is, do we want to do something on October 1st? Is that too soon? It probably is. I don't know. Do you want to celebrate? Do you think longevity is worth celebrating, or is it completely unimportant? Yeah. What do you think?
I think we should have a party, but I wonder if October 1st might be soon, but I think we should have one in the course of the 18. I don't know what other people's plans are.
Yeah, I think we could maybe have one later on. Yeah.
I think it'd be nice to have it after our midterm or after
Yeah.
papers are submitted.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So one thing is the teaching session December 7th is about the time capsule. So Pram is leading that. The time capsule was her idea. So around that time, yeah, we could have a party or some sort of celebration. We could also have it earlier, but I mean, one thing that happens is that possibly some people leave before then, you know, if you don't have finals and things to keep you here. So, and if your family lives far away, we have a long trek to get home for Christmas. Yes?
We could do the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, because I think we have Monday off 'cause of Thanksgiving.
Right, so what's the date of that?
October the 10th.
October the 10th, yeah. Yeah, so trying to think, see if I can bring up the schedule here. All right. Yeah, so we can propose to actually that might work well. So I usually have my Sony Aibo robotic dog come to one of these Osmer Zian lectures, so we could have it be that one, so the dog could join the party too. Yeah, and no, I'll ask him. I need to write to him anyway to confirm that the 3rd, 10th, and 12th work for him. And I'll tell him that the students have proposed that we have some sort of party. Do you want it during class time or? Yeah? Okay. That's okay. We can do that. We can see if he can integrate that. I think he probably can. He's a pretty agreeable guy. Yeah. So let me ask you something else. I know this seems off the wall, but Jack Tazinski has something important at 2 o'clock on October 17th that he cannot change. So he wants to do his lecture from 3 o'clock to 4:20. Do you guys have something else then? So that is a Tuesday from 3 to 4:20. If we do that timing, do you all have something somewhere else to be, or? No? Okay. Angela, what about you?
Oh no, I'm just looking at the schedule. I'm just wondering whether October the 5th or the 10th would work better for everyone.
Oh yeah. No, that's right. So Taryn, I think would also be enamored with being part of the party if you want. Yeah. So yeah. But are you free from 3 to 4:20 on the 17th? Yes. Okay, cool. Well, I will tell Jack that we're free and clear for that. That is good. Okay. Yeah, so here's what the end of the course looks like. So the paper, so we're thinking that the paper will be the edited transcript of your YouTube video. So that's why it's due after your presentation, so it would be due on the 5th. So if we had the party on the no, sorry, I'm talking about different 5th. Yeah. No, I think having the party on the 5th or the 10th makes sense. So do you want me to talk to Taryn about it, or what do you think? Yeah?
I have a quick question before that. How many days will we need presentations?
Well, there are 3 of you, and so each presentation is 20 minutes with a 10-minute discussion. So you can sort of do the math yourself, so that's an hour and a half, so we could do that in a single session. We could break it up if you wanted to be a little bit more relaxed. It's sort of totally up to you. Yeah. So as this is constructed, I have 3 days for presentations that will only take 1 day. So we could, we could, I mean, we can have a second party if you want on the 5th. We could do all the presentations for sure between the 28th and the 30th. Yeah. So that's also possible. So do you want me to ask Taryn about the idea of having some sort of party at the time of her presentation? Yeah, it's kind of nice too, because she's going to medical school, so this is, and that's at the University of Calgary. So this will be her last time with us. Yeah. So anyway, I'll ask her how she feels about that. Okay. Excellent. Wow, we're solving all the problems of the world. That's good. So there is still a little bit of uncertainty about exact dates of the AI presentations. I think they will be what you see here, but I'm not absolutely sure. Yeah, so that's the deal. I'm out of town the 26th, but I'm back the 31st. Yeah, so Michael Ben Mannon will be on his own the 26th. Okay, so what about, are you interested in transhumanism organizations and going in there and showing what a young person can do and changing the world, or is that just a Taryn Stokowski fantasy that you don't share? Yeah, does that seem interesting to you? I do still think that whatever there is about youth, that there's very little of it in that field right now, so you would find that you can accomplish a lot. That's what Taryn found. So. Does that interest you, or do you have any interest on that Sunday the 15th of taking part in that session? So, you know what I'm talking about? I'll go back to that slide. All right. Yeah, so this is it. It is Sunday, October 10th at noon our time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Max Moore and Natasha Viedemore are married, and the founders of transhumanism. Nell Watson is a younger tech leader, and she and I and others are working on transparency for AI, so that when you're communicating with something and you don't know whether it's human or AI, there would be both a sound and a symbol that would indicate whether it's an AI assisted by a human assisted by an AI, or human. Those four possibilities. And we're creating that worldwide standard for transparency of AI. And, but endocrine disruption, it's kind of a medical thing, but female hormones, there are other substances in the environment that can block them and do crazy things with the hormonal system. So she's also working on a project that has to do with that. Yeah. So, does that interest you?
Is it an online event?
Yes, it is.
And do we have to buy tickets?
What?
Do we have to buy tickets?
I don't think so. I think it's probably free or very low cost. Yeah.
I will be out of town. I don't think I'll have a stable internet connection
Okay.
that weekend.
Well, you have an excuse then. So what do you think? Are you interested?
I'll think about it. I'll look at the description of the event.
Yeah, and you can also ask Taryn what it was like for her, and yeah, so that would be fine. Okay, well, we didn't use the full time, but maybe that's okay. You'll probably find